He walked in, BlackCard in hand, and they laughed. The next morning, he canceled a $3.8 billion deal without blinking. It's a story that starts with a simple transaction at a hotel front desk, and ends with a reckoning for an entire corporation. This is the tale of Marcus Thorne, a man who built an empire from scratch, only to be reminded that some people still can't see past the color of his skin. But what they thought was a moment of disrespect, he saw as an opportunity to teach a very expensive lesson. You ever walk into a place where the air feels off? Not because something happened, but because something's about to? It was a Thursday evening in Phoenix, late spring, the sun's still out, but the heat wasn't smothering like usual. Just warm enough to make you grateful for AC. Marcus Thorne had just stepped out of a sleek black Escalade, his luggage wheeled behind him by the driver. Tailored navy suit, matte brown shoes, no tie, the perfect balance of money and comfort. He wasn't flashy, just sharp. The kind of man who knew his worth and didn't need to say a word about it. The hotel, the Sterling Tower in uptown Phoenix, was one of those high-end spots where the valet knows your name before you say it and the front desk offers you water while you check in. Glass chandeliers, gold trim everywhere. It smelled like lemon polish and imported flowers. He was in town to finalize a $3.8 billion merger with Bentley Group, a deal that had taken nearly 2 years to negotiate. This meeting was supposed to be the finish line. But from the moment he walked into the lobby, eyes tracked him, not in a respectful way, more like confusion mixed with judgment. A white couple by the espresso bar looked up, glanced at each other, and turned away, whispering. A man in a plaid golf shirt nudged his friend and gestured subtly toward Marcus's luggage. The kind of whispers that never hit your ears but still cut through your skin. Marcus felt it. He always did, but he kept moving, steady, composed, like always. He reached the front desk. The clerk looked up from her monitor. Young, maybe mid-20s, auburn ponytail, hotel name tag, chewing gum she thought nobody noticed. "Hi, checking in?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, offering a smile. Reservation under Marcus Thorne. She clicked for a moment. He glanced around, taking in the place. He'd stayed in hotels all over the world, Seoul, Zurich, Johannesburg, and this one, on paper, was in that league. But the room felt different now, cold in a way that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. "All right, Mr. Thorne," she said finally. "That'll be a credit card and ID." Marcus reached into his wallet and handed her his Centurion card. "You know the BlackCard? Solid metal, no limit. Not something you apply for, they invite you." And Marcus had one. But when she saw it, she paused, then gave a short laugh, a real laugh, like she couldn't stop it in time. "Oh wow. Okay," she said, her mouth twisting into a smirk. "You carrying one of these around?" The way she said it, like it was a toy, like it had come from a cereal box. Marcus blinked, slow and patient, not angry, not surprised either. He'd been here before, not in this exact hotel, but this moment. Yeah, he knew it well. He waited a beat. No reaction. She didn't catch the disrespect. Or worse, she did and didn't care. "Is there a problem?" he asked calmly. She shrugged. "No, just, haven't seen many of these come through here. Usually it's, executives." And there it was. Right behind him, someone chuckled. A low, nasal laugh from the plaid shirt guy again. Marcus turned his head just slightly, caught the man looking away, then looked back at the clerk, who was now waiting for something, approval, validation, he didn't know. Instead, he reached slowly into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and dialed. "Yeah," he said. "It's me." "No, don't go in yet. Cancel the room block and call Liam. Tell him the merger's off." Her expression didn't change at first. It was like her brain didn't register the words. The whole thing, the voice through the phone was muffled, but serious. "Every inch of it," Marcus replied. He hung up, then leaned forward, meeting the clerk's eyes. "I'll find somewhere else to stay." He turned, rolled his bag out behind him, and disappeared through the revolving doors, quiet, graceful, in control. But behind him, the room felt different now. The real storm hadn't even started yet. The hotel's assistant manager, Jessica Hayes, had been watching from the far end of the lobby, just behind a tall marble column near the business center. She saw the exchange, or at least the tone of it, but didn't move fast enough. And now the man in the navy suit with the air of someone important had just walked out, leaving silence in his wake. She rushed over to the front desk. What just happened? The clerk, Brooke, looked up, still twirling her pen between her fingers. Some guy tried to check in with a fake Centurion card or something. He got all weird when I asked him about it. Jessica narrowed her eyes. A fake Centurion card? Yeah, that's what it looked like, Brooke said with a half-shrug. Those things aren't just handed out, right? He didn't even seem like. She paused, catching herself. Jessica's voice dropped. Did you ask for another form of payment? No, he just made some call and left. Like he was important or something, she snorted lightly. Probably bluffing. Jessica stared at her a moment longer before pulling out her tablet. She tapped a few times, her jaw tense. His name was Marcus Thorne? Yeah, that's what he said. Jessica turned the screen toward Brooke. There, in plain view, was a VIP guest profile, platinum rating, founder and CEO of Horizon Applied Technologies, one of the most influential tech firms in the U.S. His net worth had been speculated to be over $1 billion. Brooke, she said, keeping her voice as steady as possible, that card was real. And he's not just someone. He was the reason the entire Bentley Group was staying here this weekend. Brooke blinked. Wait, seriously? He's the one leading the Bentley merger, the one that was set to bring in nearly $30 million in long-term contracts to this hotel chain over the next 3 years? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. He just canceled everything? Jessica didn't wait for a response. She turned and walked briskly toward the elevators. Upstairs in the penthouse suite, 3 top executives from Bentley Group were lounging around, reviewing the presentation decks for the next morning. David Lynn, the COO, was sipping on club soda while Sarah Mendez, the general counsel, scrolled through her emails. Michael Shaw, the CFO, had his jacket off and sleeves rolled up, trying to unwind. A knock hit the door, sharp and sudden. Sarah got up and opened it. Jessica stepped in, visibly tense. I think we may have a serious problem, she said. David looked up. What kind of problem? Mr. Thorne. He's gone. Gone where? Michael asked. He left the hotel. Cancelled his reservation. Said the merger is off. Silence. Sarah blinked slowly. Off? What the hell happened? There was an incident at the front desk, Jessica said. One of our employees mishandled his check-in. Michael set his glass down carefully. What kind of mishandling? She questioned his card. Mocked him in front of other guests. David sat up straighter. You mean she racially profiled him? Jessica didn't answer. She didn't have to. Sarah stared at her tablet. This isn't just bad. This is catastrophic. David stood and ran a hand through his thinning hair. Do you understand what kind of signal this sends? That we couldn't even host the lead on the deal without insulting him in the lobby? PR is going to have a field day with this. He's not going to be quiet about this, Michael muttered. He's powerful, but not the kind that wants headlines. He doesn't need attention. He's got influence. And they all knew influence moves faster than noise. Back downstairs, Brooke was still at her post, her earlier confidence long gone. A nearby bellhop, Andre, who'd seen the incident but kept his head down, finally stepped over. You know, he said, keeping his voice low, that man? He's the kind that people remember. The way he walked out, that wasn't a tantrum. That was someone sending a message. Brooke didn't respond, but for the first time, she looked uneasy. Andre added, I've seen people blow up over the wrong room or not enough towels. He didn't blow up. He just decided you weren't worth his voice. But outside the hotel, Marcus's silence was already making more noise than words ever could. Marcus didn't go far. Just across the street, actually. He checked into a modest boutique hotel, the Bishop House, known for its quiet style and no-nonsense service. No grand chandelier. No bellhop pretending to care. Just a clean room and respect at the door. That's all he needed. He sat on the edge of the bed for a moment, the city humming faintly through the double-pane glass. The call he made earlier had already started setting off alarms. His chief of operations, Liam, had probably cleared the meeting room already. By tomorrow, every stakeholder at Bentley Group would be wondering what went wrong, and that was the point. Marcus wasn't impulsive. He'd built Horizon Applied Technologies from scratch, from a laptop in a shared office space in Tulsa to a billion-dollar company with operations in 4 continents. His moves were always deliberate, measured. Even his silence had weight. Still, he wasn't made of stone. He looked down at the BlackCard, still in his hand, resting against his palm. Solid, heavy, a symbol, and in the wrong hands, apparently a punchline. His phone buzzed. "Liam, need me to come to you?" "No. Just handle the numbers." "I'm done talking," Marcus replied. Liam understood. Another buzz, this time from Simone, his sister back in Tulsa. "Simone, heard you pulled the plug. You good?" He stared at the message. Thought about replying. Thought about telling her the truth, that no matter how many awards they give you, no matter how many zeros are in your account, someone will always think the card in your hand isn't yours. Instead he wrote, "Marcus, yeah, just tired." Simone replied with a single line, "Simone, get some rest. And don't let this turn you cold." He put the phone down and sat back. No anger, no tears, just a deep ache. Not the kind you feel in your chest. The kind that lives in your bones. Familiar, old, like something you carry and forget until someone pokes it. And that girl at the desk, Brooke, she didn't invent that moment. She just repeated it, recycled it. He'd seen it in classrooms, at airports, at country clubs, even in his own boardroom. People assuming he was someone else's assistant, not the man running the table. Back in college, one of his professors had pulled him aside after class and asked, "Hey, Marcus, I've been meaning to ask, who's paying your tuition?" Not, "How's the coursework going, or do you need help with the labs?" Just curiosity about money, because the math didn't add up for him. Smart, black, and present. And years later, even with a black card and a private jet, he was still getting the same test, just in fancier buildings. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Room service. He opened it to find a young man holding a tray, 2 bottles of water and a fruit plate. "Compliments of the manager, sir," the boy said. "He saw your name on the check-in log. Just wanted to say he appreciates you staying with us." Marcus nodded. "Thank you." "Also," the boy added, "my dad works in tech. He talks about your company all the time. Said you built something no one else even thought of." That made Marcus pause. "What's your name?" "Jaden." "Well, Jaden, tell your dad I said thank you." Jaden smiled, nodded, and left quietly. Marcus closed the door and looked out the window at the Sterling Tower across the street. Tall, polished, expensive. Full of people who still didn't understand what they just lost. Not just a deal. Not just a guest. They lost a lesson. But that lesson was about to get taught publicly, loudly, and without mercy. By 8:17 a.m. the next morning, the boardroom at the Sterling's executive conference level was supposed to be buzzing with final prep. Instead, it was silent. The long walnut table, usually full of printed decks and lattes, sat untouched. Nameplates already positioned, water bottles chilling, pens lined up perfectly. But no one had entered. Not one Horizon rep, not even Marcus's assistant. On the other side of the floor, David Lynn was pacing. "I'm telling you, if he doesn't walk through that door in the next 10 minutes, we've lost him." Across the room, Sarah Mendez wasn't even looking up. She was glued to her phone, reading a message from Horizon's legal team. Effective immediately, we are withdrawing our interest in the Bentley merger. We will not be rescheduling negotiations. We consider the matter closed. She read it out loud. Michael sat back in his chair. That's it then. David finally stopped pacing. No explanation. No reconsideration. He doesn't owe us anything, Sarah replied flatly. Not after yesterday. Michael leaned forward, eyes sharp. Let's be clear. The merger is dead, and the fallout's going to be brutal. Shareholders are going to panic. Media will pick it up by lunch, and we'll get dragged into the mess. David sat down, rubbing his temples. 30 months of negotiations gone. I told you, Sarah said, scrolling. He's not loud, he's precise. When Marcus Thorne walks out, he doesn't slam the door. He locks it behind him and throws away the key. 10 blocks away at the Bishop House, Marcus sat across from Liam in a private lounge. Did they respond? Marcus asked. They're still scrambling. You pulled the plug so fast they didn't even have time to make excuses, Liam replied. Good. Liam hesitated. You sure you want this on record? No press statement means they'll try to shape the story themselves. Marcus took a sip of his tea. They're already doing that. Let them. We'll say what we need to when we need to. Liam nodded, then leaned in. We just lost out on a huge infrastructure extension. That merger would have tripled our manufacturing capacity in the South. I know, Marcus said. You sure this isn't personal? Marcus looked him dead in the eyes. It is personal, and it's business. Liam didn't argue. Instead, he pulled up an article on his iPad. They're running the first wave already. Blog out of Austin just posted something titled, The BlackCard Backlash, Did Racism Kill a Historic Tech Deal? Marcus didn't react. Liam tapped another tab. And the hotel's PR director just tweeted, We are aware of an incident involving a guest. We are investigating and take this very seriously. Marcus smirked. They're not sorry. They're just loud now that they're losing money. Liam laughed quietly, then sobered. It's wild though. All these years, you kept your head down, played the long game, and all it took was one desk clerk. It wasn't just her, Marcus replied. It was the look on her face when she thought she had power over me. That smug little smile. That's what lit the fuse. Back at the Sterling, chaos was still unfolding behind the scenes. Brooke had been removed from her shift pending investigation. A few of the front desk employees were being questioned. The GM had been in 3 meetings already, all of them with lawyers. One email thread included the phrase, "This is becoming a brand-level problem." They were scrambling. One employee, Andre, the bellhop who had witnessed the incident, posted something on Facebook that afternoon. I've worked in that hotel for 6 years. I've seen celebrities, CEOs, athletes. But I never saw a man more composed than Marcus Thorne after he got humiliated. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He just made a call and left, like a man who already knew his worth. That's the kind of power you don't learn in school. That post went viral. People began sharing their own experiences in the comments. Stories of being followed in stores, laughed at in luxury settings, denied respect because of skin, hair, tone, or the wrong last name. It wasn't just Marcus's story anymore. It was everyone's. That evening, Marcus sat alone in his room, watching the coverage. The local NBC affiliate showed a segment with his name splashed across the screen alongside a photo of him from a tech conference 2 years ago. He looked strong in that image, focused, the kind of photo that made people stop scrolling. The anchor read from a script, while Mr. Thorne has yet to issue a public statement, the financial impact of his decision is already being felt across corporate circles. Analysts say the canceled merger will ripple through logistics and retail sectors within weeks. He muted the TV, then turned to his laptop. Opened a document and started typing. He wasn't ready to talk to the media, but he was ready to talk to people. And tomorrow, he would do it on his terms, with no reporters twisting his words, no headlines watering it down. Because if people were going to hear his voice, it was going to sound like truth, not damage control. Saturday morning, no suit, no cameras, no stage. Marcus stood behind a plain podium in a quiet community center in South Phoenix in front of a room full of local business students, interns, and young professionals. No fanfare, no press invites. Just a few rows of folding chairs, some notepads, and phones set to record. It was an event planned months ago, a mentoring session. He almost canceled it after the hotel incident. Not because he didn't want to show up, but because he didn't want to bring the storm with him. But when the story broke, the organizer called and said, "They need to hear from you, not from the headlines." So Marcus showed up. He looked out at the small crowd. A few nodded. A few just watched, still unsure if the man in front of them was really him, the same man trending on their phones all week. He cleared his throat and began, "I was asked to talk about what leadership looks like, what success looks like. But that's not what I'm going to do today. I want to talk about what power looks like. Because some people think power is about shouting, threatening, making people afraid. But that's not real power. Real power is knowing who you are and knowing when to leave the room without saying a word." He let the silence sit. "In my line of work, I've signed 9-figure contracts in 10 minutes, but I've also been mistaken for security at my own headquarters. That's just the world we live in. And it doesn't stop, even when you reach the top." He paused, scanning the room. Some of you might be thinking, if that can happen to him, what chance do I have? And I get that, but let me tell you, they don't get to define you. The smirks, the doubt, the assumptions. That's them. What you build, what you walk away from. That's you. Someone in the second row whispered facts under their breath. Marcus smiled. He continued, "The truth is, I didn't cancel that deal out of emotion. I did it because values matter more than contracts. If someone laughs at your presence, they'll never respect your partnership. And if you tolerate disrespect in silence, it only gets louder." Another pause. You don't fight everything with rage. Sometimes you fight it by succeeding anyway, by choosing where to put your energy, by walking out with your dignity and letting the silence say everything. Then he leaned forward slightly. "So when they question your place at the table, remember, you are the table. And if they can't recognize that, you don't owe them a seat." After the talk, people approached slowly. Some just to shake his hand. Others asked questions, thanked him. One young woman in a mustard hoodie looked nervous but stepped up and said, "My dad followed your story this week. He said it gave him hope. He's a janitor. And he said you walked away like a king." Marcus took that in. He didn't have a clever reply. He just nodded and said, "Tell your dad he raised someone brave." Later that evening, he sat in his office at Horizon HQ, feet up on the desk, looking at the sunset through the tinted glass. His phone buzzed again. Simone saw the clip. "You said it better than any of the news did, Marcus. They never listen right the first time anyway." "True," Marcus replied. "But this time, I think they heard you." He leaned back, finally breathing in deep. Because it wasn't about the hotel anymore, or the card, or even the deal. It was about a mirror he held up to the system. And the fact that the reflection made people uncomfortable. He didn't need revenge. He didn't need to scream. He just needed to move in a way that made people think. And now they were. The lesson? True power isn't about the noise you make, it's about the silence you leave behind. This story is a reminder that the world will always try to put you in a box, but you have the right to walk out of it. And when you do, don't just leave a chair empty, leave a space so big that no one can ignore the reason you're gone. Share this story, and let's make sure the next generation understands that their worth is not up for debate.